And we are live. Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Brad, that's Kyla. We're Dallas
Hi.
Geek. How y'all doing? Kyla?
I'm good.
How you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm chill.
Yeah.
It's Friday. The sun was out for a moment, now it's gone again, but I can only imagine it is toasty warm outside, and I'm feeling fantastic. How are you, Brad?
Pretty good, honestly. Didn't actually have to do anything for the day job, so I'm calling that a win today.
There you go. Nice to have a Friday off.
Yeah. Every now and then it's a good thing. So, guys, I know this is a little bit last minute, but yeah, we're here talking live again on a nice Friday. A little bit less notice than usual, but here we go. As always, have to get the mandatory shilling out of the way from the start. So,
absolutely.
Of course, if you have not seen us before and this is your first time, thank you so much for joining us. Please do not forget, if you have not already, to follow us over on Facebook and like the video. And of course, like the video and subscribe over on YouTube. And if you like our stuff but don't always have time for the videos, you can check out the audio of our live streams and our interviews over on, you got Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Play, and Stitcher, because, you know, we gotta get them all.
Are they Pokemon?
I mean, I feel like it sometimes, yeah.
I gotta go make sure, I gotta go talk to Professor Oak and go pick my starter then, because I'm a wee bit behind.
Yeah. But hey, we're back for some more Disney fun. Guys, you know what? We figured last time we got to kind of bash on a Disney princess movie for a little while. Let's have a little bit more fun with it today.
Well, hey, you got to bash on a Disney princess movie.
Well, to be fair, Mike got to bash on a Disney princess movie. I got to justify it, but we'll...
Okay. Fair.
But today, we thought, you know, with Disney Plus's release of Hamilton, it was only fair to be able to jump in with another musical, and more importantly, another musical that involves Lin-Manuel Miranda, because he's amazing and deserves all the praise all the time. So we thought it would be a great time to be able to take the original Mary Poppins and Mary Poppins Returns, taking two Broadway legends, Julie Andrews and Lin-Manuel Miranda, and seeing which of their Mary Poppins versions came out better. So you know what? Yes, I know it is kind of a roundabout shill for Hamilton, but we figured, why not? It's always worth bringing up Hamilton, because Hamilton.
Maybe we can talk about Hamilton sometime soon, bro.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, I already have dinner plans tonight to be able to sit down and watch it all on Disney Plus. You know,
there you go.
Yeah, Luke's going down early. Wife and I are sitting down, and we're just gonna enjoy the whole thing, because that is fantastic.
Saucy date night.
Hey, it's an amazing musical with amazing music, amazing acting, and it's just wonderful. So yeah, there's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm gonna get Mike to sit down and watch it with me, or I might just watch it without him, depending on
Oh no.
I don't know how I feel.
Oh no, he'll go for it. I mean, you know, he's a musical fan and he's a history fan. I'd say it's the perfect thing to make him stop and enjoy.
Oh, I think he'll enjoy it, but the question would be like,
do you wait for it?
Making him find time to watch it with me?
Smack him over the head, tell him you're sitting down on the couch and you guys are gonna enjoy it.
Oh, we did that yesterday for My Hero, so...
That's fair.
I don't think I have power to pull that twice in a row.
You say that, and yet... So...
There's a possibility. Fair.
And we have, I believe, your mother over on the Facebook comments, Carrie.
Hi, Mom.
With a nice little spoonful of sugar drop. So, oh yeah.
It does help the medicine go down. Questionably so.
I mean...
might cause cavities, but like, it's fine.
It all works out, right? You know, it all evens out. And of course, the last necessary begging of the day, because, please notice me, senpai.
Notice me, senpai.
5-Hour Energy. If y'all want to sponsor us, I will chill for you all day, every day, if you're willing to send some free product, because, must. Just must.
I mean, Starbucks, I got you. Even the color changing cups. This one goes from blue to purple. They're amazing.
Fair.
They're beautiful. My basic butt likes them so much.
L'chaim. With that, guys, we're jumping in to do a quick comparison of Mary Poppins. Mary Poppins Returns. Kyla, you just finished Mary Poppins Returns for the first time.
Yes.
Let's go ahead and start here and just say, what'd you think of the sequel?
Like, why hadn't I seen it sooner? I get it came out in 2018, but, like, it was fantastic. I loved it. There were some gut-wrenching moments that, like, had me just kind of like, oh. Some great callbacks that were really well done from calling back to the first one. And just, like, overall, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I almost said something else there, but I can watch my mouth better than the mic can. So.
Very nice.
How do you like it, Brad?
Honestly, I thought Mary Poppins Returns was fun. I didn't always connect with certain points of comparison that were intentionally trying to like throw back to specific moments in the original, but do their own take on, like the animated scene where that was supposed to be like a callback to the Derby, but was the theater performance after they went into the vase. I
love that scene.
It was a fun thing, but just looking at it and that musical number just kept going on and on and on. I'm going, this feels a lot more like Chicago than it does Mary Poppins, and B, if you're going to be comparing it to the Derby scene in the original, I'm going to take the Derby any day, because that was just great. Plus it had penguins. It had penguins. But
well, no, hey, the new one also had penguins in it. Thank you. Just not Dick Van Dyke dancing with penguins.
Hey,
but
that's what made it special.
I don't really recall much of a message other than, like, let's go have fun.
Sure.
In a painting, and it's a lovely day with Mary. Versus don't judge a book by its cover. So
sure, and
I'm gonna go with the new animated one because it got a good message with it too, and foreshadowing. Boom.
And I will go.
That's for you, my former English teachers.
I will actually go ahead and throw out there that I did appreciate the message that they tried to throw into it. And honestly, there were plenty of parts of the new movie that were just a lot of fun. Yes. Plenty of other elements that seemed a little kind of just, it was there, it was a thing, but as a whole, I thought it was a very enjoyable movie. I don't know if it was 100% justified, necessary sequel, but it was a fun sequel, and it was a fun movie, and honestly, I genuinely deeply enjoyed seeing Emily Blunt take on the role of Mary Poppins, because if there was ever going to be somebody that could take on Mary Poppins after Julie Andrews, Emily Blunt is maybe the only person that I can think of that makes sense. So I was very okay with that.
Would you say that she's practically perfect in every way?
Oh, yeah, I mean, honestly, it's a fun movie, and honestly, I heard a lot of complaints in the original round of reviews that kind of threw Meryl Streep under the bus, going, of course, it's a musical, Meryl Streep had to be in there. Honestly, I don't really see the Meryl Streep hate. Yes, she can be severely over the top at times, but if you're doing a musical, her acting style really fits, and I kind of liked her. I thought she was one of the more fun parts of the movie.
She's my girl. Like, why we gotta hate on? I know you're not, but why we gotta hate on her? Because I adore her.
Yeah, and
I adore her. Like, Devil Wears Prada, Meryl Streep, just
Yeah, no, that was actually one of my more like one of my top roles of hers. That was like perfect for her.
But no, I liked her character, and like it was obvious. Like we just discussed how there's a dual thing of when you met Mary Poppins' cousin, Miss Topsy, whatever the name was. Essentially, it's Topsy Turvy, so I'm just gonna go with that. Like, it was some like mashup of French and Russian name. I'm not gonna be able to recreate for you, so I'm just gonna leave it at Topsy. It was important to like,
Topsy.
make sure you. Yeah, see, like that's all I got for you. The last name was something to the effect of Turvy, but it was, like I said, Russian and French mashed together and had a mild abomination happen. But like, it's fine. It's okay. Like, I'm not gonna hate you for it. It's okay.
Yeah.
But the point of it was reconnecting with family, getting a better understanding, and looking at things from a different point of view. So like, I get it. That's a great message for kids to have, to understand. Like, for example, like, oh, this bowl must be worth so much, but it was worth that much to your mother.
Yeah.
But not necessarily in a monetary value. So I was like, oh, that's a great message for kids. So like, I didn't hate it too much.
Yeah, and we got Cody that just popped up in the Facebook comments. Hey Cody, how you
Hi,
doing?
Cody.
But yeah, no, I mean, and honestly, of all of the parts of the movie, I actually kind of visually enjoyed that scene more than a lot of the others in the movie, because there was just so much happening with it, and the way that they did the camera effect of kind of spinning the room and flipping everything around, and I mean, so much of it felt so practical effects and tangible. And I mean, I know that in reality it was a bit of a combination, but there was enough practical there that it really,
to make it feel,
it really felt good to watch. So I thought that was a fun scene.
We always love a good hybrid scene that just makes you get immersed in it still.
Yeah. So, and of course, we would be severely remiss if we did not throw in the Dick Van Dyke replacement of Jack with Lin-Manuel Miranda, and I enjoyed listening to him sing any chance I can. He's just so, he has so much fun in his characters. In this role especially, you could tell he was just enjoying himself. It was a great time, and at the very least, getting to be able to see, after the movie came out, his interview on the Graham Norton show with him and Emily Blunt, and just their back and forth, and getting to see how well they worked together there. It was so much fun. That alone made the effort of the movie worth it, because they really do work well together.
They did.
So I thought it was great.
Good. Yeah, I really enjoyed him. Like, so I've heard him sing, just because I've heard, obviously, like, recordings. Like, for example, like, hearing Alexander Hamilton, and he can't call other little things, but his voice is very unique. It's very, like, fast and full and fun, and just, like, carries and just sticks with you. Just, I don't know. Makes you feel good, like, when you hear a song like that.
Yeah, and there's a certain cadence to his voice when he does his musical pieces, even when somebody else writes the music, because he didn't actually score this movie, but enough of his parts felt like he could have, that it just kind of worked for him.
I was going to say, like, you can't tell me that a couple of those songs, for example, the Don't Judge a Book by Its Cover, where all of a sudden he gets kind of like I'm going to call it a speaky part, because it wasn't rapping, but it wasn't, like, straight talking.
Yes.
And call it a speaky part, because I don't have another word for it, because I'm a music person, I'm not a choir person, though. Let's face it, I don't sing. Like, you can say you're sorry to Mike next time you see him, because he deals with my singing in the car, and it is atrocious. But his speaky parts, like, that's like a signature of his, and it gets come up in the movie a couple of times, so.
Yeah.
But
I mean, obviously, you know, the music was done by Mark Shaman, and he did a really good job with it, and especially considering, you know, the Rob Marshall directing this movie, you could definitely feel his style with it, which worked out great, honestly. But overall, no, I'd say that this was it was a fun outing. It was a fun time, and yeah, it's worth it. Having the kids roles taken up by Ben, I want to get this right, Wyshaw, I want to say.
I think that's how you say it.
The guy that played Q in the new James Bond movies, and then Emily Mortimer as Jane.
Yes.
I mean, to see those two together, that was fun. I like both of them as actors. I think if there's really any member of the cast whose backstory felt a little, I don't know, underserviced, Emily Mortimer's Jane really felt like it could have had a little bit more time thrown into it, because you got so much time thrown into the whole Michael Banks character and the spoiler alert, dead wife, and everything that led up to the kids needing a kind of a restart on their family dynamic.
You mean learning how to be a kid again too?
Yeah, I mean, that was nice. Maybe they could have kind of gotten to the point of Michael's story a little bit sooner to be able to throw some more stuff in there for Jane. But otherwise, I mean, it was good to be able to kind of get a little bit of a balance between them. But as actors, I thought they were good.
I think with Jane's story, though, like, it wasn't like she was really she wasn't the only, like, quote-unquote hardship that she had, if you will, that I recall. Now, I could have just been glossing over it, because that happens sometimes when you get across a movie for the first time, was that she just hadn't found love. Like, to quote at one point, I think Ellen looked and was like, oh, don't let her get away. Or something about, like, how Jane's looking at Jack with longing and everything like that. So I was like, oh no. She said that ship has long since sailed, and someone's like, well, ships can sail again. That's the great thing about them. So that's the only really thing I can think of that was a big, like, past for her.
Sure.
Was the fact that she was single when she was older, which during the time period, which I think was in the where does this movie take place? It's when going from kids to adults and children, so like 1940s? Before World War II? Or right after? I only say that because I know the first one takes place in like 1910, so, and they were small
Depression
creatures.
era London, so this would be like, what was it, 1950s?
Depression era of London. Great Depression unite and
okay, I guess it says 1930s.
Yeah, so I was a little bit off, so it could have been towards the end of it. No, I said it was during the peak of it, so that would have been, it could have been towards the end. I'm not a history person, can you tell? I'm sorry.
That's fair.
A numbers person.
that is fair. I mean, since it says that the original Mary Poppins took place turn of the century, so early 1900s, yeah, I mean, I guess that would make sense.
Yeah, I only say that 1910 because I rewatched both of them today, so I spent like 5 hours watching movies already today. It's been a great productive Friday.
That's fair. I mean, well, since you...
Mr. Banks says that, like, this is how a house should be ran in 1910, or something to that effect, so...
And actually, speaking of, since this is a comparison, we have the original Mary Poppins. Mm-hmm. And, I mean...
It's a classic!
Once again, like, talking Julie Andrews... In my mind, Julie Andrews is a treasure that we are just freaking lucky to have had. I mean, Mary Poppins, Sound of Music, I mean, so much stuff on Broadway. I mean...
It's Julie Andrews, like, come on now. You know her name. You know who she is.
She is...
She's the voice of a goddess and perfectly poised, too, with everything she does.
Yeah. And, of course, for the younger crowd, you have The Princess Diaries, because, you know, that's definitely something that everybody seems to latch on to.
Mia Thermopolis.
Yeah. Oh, Victoria. Definitely can't forget that. Mm-hmm. I mean, she is just phenomenal. And honestly,
She really is.
there are only a few actors that, in general, I would feel genuinely nervous to meet because I'd be so terrified of making a fool out of myself. Julie Andrews is one of those. Like,
Oh, absolutely.
I considering what we do for this show, I could handle meeting just about any other actor out there. Julie Andrews is one of the few that I could look at and go, I don't know if I could keep it together. I feel like I might actually break down in just a lot of Julie Andrews.
I'd say same, but like that's same for a lot of things. Like I don't know if you remember in short version, I ran into Chris Sabat and basically had that exact same reaction because I bumped him with my backpack. I was like, ah! Like, so I feel like that with anybody who I like know their name and can recognize them like on a spot sort of thing. And she's just, she is fantastic. The original, like I said, is such an iconic movie.
Yeah.
Dick Van Dyke in it he plays two roles, in case you didn't catch that, because I had to, when I rewatched it today, realize like, oh, he also plays Mr. Oz, the banker, which I did not catch until I was an adult.
Yeah.
But like the movie is so good, and when you first watch the original Mary Poppins, you think she's a nanny, she's coming in to help the kids and teach them like how to be proper, but it wasn't really that they needed to learn how to be proper, it was that they just needed better family structure.
Yeah.
Which is really what was going on there.
Oh yeah.
But like it's so good. Like she came in to help the family and like gave the kids something to the point that even in the callback, they stop and make and go like, all those things with Mary Poppins when we were a kid, were they? No, they couldn't have been real. Like, were they?
Yeah. So, I mean...
It even had me questioning myself when I was rewatching the original, because I was like, oh, these things are too fantastical. I mean, maybe it's literally just she's trying to allow the kids' imaginations to run free. And then I was like, wait. That's the adult in me saying that, and not the kid who watched it and believed this is actually happening. So now I'm in a state of just like...
Yeah, kind of trippy.
Yes! Like, like what? When did I get too old to where I thought Mary Poppins, like, it's too fantastical to actually happen? Like, that is an atrocity. An atrocity, Brad.
Oh,
it's not okay.
Yeah, and I mean, the original Mary Poppins just had so much that happened with it that, as a kid, you could appreciate the fantastic elements of it, and then as an adult, you can look back on it and see it as a bit of a reality check of saying, hey, it's okay to stop and enjoy life. It's like okay to be able to go back and embrace your inner child because there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing innately wrong with trying to be kind of childish because you can't just be serious all the time. And, you know, embrace family, embrace everything you've worked to try to enjoy, and take advantage of it when you can, because life is short.
Yes.
I get it. And, yeah, no, I think it is a fantastic movie that, in my mind, is never going to really get to a point where it's outdated.
No, like, even so... I was a little concerned when I knew I was coming up to the animated scene, because I was like, okay, this was shot, was the original, was 1964 when it was released?
Yeah.
I was like, that's gonna be fun to see that animated again, and see how it, Yep. So I was really concerned as soon as I was rolling up to it, watching it again, but I watched it, and I was like, you know what, like, I still got immersed in it. There's only literally one thing that really just caught me off guard with the animation scene. And that was with Mary Poppins and Bert standing on the turtles to get across the river. That was the only thing that made me like kind of lose it for a moment in the animated scene, just because it's very like it's a flat foot on top of a round shell that's like the foot sinking into the shell because of limited technology, like practicality and usage and advancement during that time.
Oh yeah.
But other than that, like it holds up. Like it's still a dang good movie.
Yeah, and I mean,
like,
to just think about the fact that the movie itself was so groundbreaking with those animation live action crossovers that we really did, like, it was revolutionary, and it really did change what everybody thought were the limitations of cinema and what was even physically possible for more fantasy-oriented scenes that up until then felt like you had to rely exclusively on practical effects, and if you couldn't physically make it, it didn't quite work out. And now all of a sudden you realize, well, as long as you're willing to accept that something looks a little bit cartoony in the background, you can do a lot with that and be okay with it.
Yes. I'm looking at Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Yeah, like you wouldn't have gotten Who Framed
Looney Tunes back in action.
You wouldn't have gotten Who Framed Roger Rabbit without Mary Poppins. Like, it categorically couldn't have been possible.
No.
Yeah.
Like, and that movie is so good too. We can talk about that one sometime because I have thoughts on it. It's fantastic. But I digress. Like, I was worried about it, but it was so well done that, like, I think even a kid of now looking on it would be a little confused at first trying to understand the time period it's set in, because it was normal for, like, a family in the early 1900s in England to have a nanny. Like, that was expected so that the mom and dad could take care of the house. Dad usually going out to work, mom running the house with servants and whatnot, keeping it organized, and then a nanny to take care of the children. Like, that was a norm.
Yeah,
like,
and I mean,
that was how it was expected to be.
Yeah, there was even a conscious effort by Walt Disney, looking at the movie, about how to justify Mary Poppins' existence, because at the time in '64, it was uncommon for, you know, a non-working mother to have a nanny around if you weren't uber wealthy, and since you didn't have a lot of uber wealthy in '64, he made the conscious effort of going, okay, wait, we can justify it if we give the mother an activity outside of the home. And early 1900s, London, it's she's a suffragette. She's out protesting for women's rights, movement. And by doing that, you justify the need for a nanny because now she's not around all the time. So now a modern at the time audience can connect with the need for a nanny, and it's perfectly justifiable. And while it all does make historical contextual sense, it also just kind of works as a plot continuity thing.
They also call back to it in Mary Poppins Returns. Because Mary Poppins shows up, you know, it's like, here, I'm here to take care of the Banks family, or she says children, old guess and you too, which I thought was so cleverly written, but we'll get to that in a moment. But Jane is like, okay, you know, we'll take you in, blah, 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 your room is still up there, etc., etc. And Michael's like, we don't have a need for a nanny, I can't pay for a nanny. She goes, but nannies aren't in common work anymore, like, can't we just put her up for a little bit? Like,
yeah.
Like, that's well done too, to think about, like, the fact that as time went forward, it was less and less common to have a nanny, no matter what your financial status was. And then just explaining, like, hey, can't we just be nice? Like, just be decent humans and give her a place to stay since she seems to be out of work at the moment. But, you know, like, we got her. Like, it's cool.
Yeah.
You know, Mary Poppins, she's a chill chick. Like,
yeah. Now, I will say the part of the first movie that was leagues stronger than what we got in the second movie was the Chimney Sweep song and dance number versus the what were they called? The Leary song and dance number.
I honestly, I'm gonna be real with you, real quick. When I was rewatching the original Mary Poppins, I think I just Chimney Sweep dancing, I was over it halfway through. I was just like, can we be done? Like, it's cool. The song was great, but, like, I am over the song and dance. Like, I spaced for the good chunk in the middle until the father shows back up, and I was like, get these people out of my house. And, like, then I was like, okay, I'm back with you. Like,
oh my,
I'm here with you again. So the Leary one, I liked it because it was, I don't want to say short and to the point, but, like, it was fun.
Yeah.
I liked the song. I liked how, like, they they kind of introduced a cultural thing. It was like, oh, it's Illyri speak. Like, you don't say what you want to say. You kind of rhyme with it. Like,
Sure.
So tell us your old song and wail. Like,
Sure.
Or was it a song and wail? I think that's what he said for your tale. So
Yeah. The problem...
I liked it.
The problem that I had with the scene for the Learys was that it felt like the rest of the movie felt like it was a movie. You were going around the movie, and it all felt like it was some part of the overall world that was being created. And then you got to the Leary scene, and it immediately felt like everything was a stage. Like, it felt like you immediately went from movie, theater stage. And now we are seeing a Mary Poppins redux of Stomp with BMX. And then as soon as it was over, movie. Whereas with the chimney sweeps, it felt like it was all just part of the bigger movie world with massive choreography. And yeah, there were certain elements of it that could feel kind of like a stage, but it wasn't obviously a stage. It just felt more like all of a sudden you went from Mary Poppins to Fiddler on the Roof choreography, and then Mary Poppins, which was a very different thing. It had more flow with the rest of the movie in the original than this did. It just felt so standalone, out of the blue, and just you just had to kind of run with it. And that's the part that it took me out enough that I just had to go, guys, was this part necessary? Like, I know you felt the need to do your own version of this, but did you have to do it like this?
I'm going to ask you if either of them were necessary, if that's how you feel about it then.
I thought the chimney sweep one, just because the choreography was so on point, I will always say that one is necessary. I felt like the choreography for the Learys was a little too on the nose and simplistic. It didn't have the same kind of artistic aesthetic in my head. So,
I thought it was fun personally. I liked it was just supposed to be, you get lost, you look for light and lead you home, blah blah blah. Like, don't be downtrodden whenever things are going bad. Essentially, is what the song was trying to tell you.
Sure.
So I liked that, but was there a message with the chimney sweep song? Was there any use to it other than them falling down the chimney and then getting swept around the banks home?
Let me see. It says... I mean... I don't know if it was necessarily a necessary... I don't know. I don't really know if it was a necessary part of the original movie, but it definitely feels...
Don't get me wrong.
I think it feels grander.
It was it's. Like I said, I just wish it wasn't so long. But.
Yeah, no, it seems like it's just kind of a fun piece that they put into the movie overall. But I don't know. I feel like the scale of that number was grander than the Learys.
I'm just gonna.
But
And then I'm gonna move on. Then.
That's fair. That's totally fair. Yeah, so, I mean,
no,
you have the two movies
really
now.
Good.
I guess the best next step is, what do you think was the weakest parts of the movies?
The weakest parts of the movies? So, what both of them are really about aren't necessarily a nanny for the children. It's not to get the children to be in line. And you and I both discussed how the whole point of it is that she is there to help the family as a whole get back to where they need to be as a family.
Sure.
Like, united together, like, with those bonds and understanding and, like, everything like that. The first movie, you don't really understand that. That's what she's there for until literally the end, when you have the bank scene with in the original one, that is. There's a bank scene in both of them. The bank scene in the original one, where he basically gets threatened, almost loses his job, comes back, ends up talking with his family and everything like that, and just kind of like worried about where he is. And realizes that like he's just there for his family, and that's what's important to them. And they go out and they go fly together, and it's great. And he gets offered a partnership, like fantastic. It's great. So it wasn't until the end that you realize that Mary Poppins is there for the entire family to get back together versus just being there for the children.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, fine. Versus the Return of Mary Poppins explains that she's there for everyone within the first 3 minutes of her being on screen. She shows up and was like, they're like, Mary Poppins, what are you doing here? She goes, well, I'm here to look after the Banks children. And the small children are like, well, what about us? And she's like, well, you too. Like, but it addresses the fact that she's there for both Michael and Jane and the 3 kids. And that she's trying to make sure that they're able to hold up. On 2 different reasons, be it, like you already mentioned, spoiler, of the dead wife. The dad has kind of gotten into a slump, so much that the kids have kind of grown up too fast and have been trying to help him and trying to be like young adults or small adults, I'll say small adults. But the kids need to also understand that they need to still be kids, because they're like, what, at most 8-9 years old?
Yeah.
They're tiny children, but they're acting almost more responsible than I am on the daily basis, if I'm being honest here. But it was more clear to me. So I think the original one was weak in the sense of making sure that the overall point of the movie was clear from the beginning. Which I think after you rewatch it, you had to rewatch to be able to get that. You're like, oh, that's what she's trying to do.
Okay.
Versus Return's weakness is, while it's important for the kids to learn lessons, but they learned so many lessons in like a 3-day time frame.
Okay.
It was almost like school teacher-esque.
Okay, fair.
That's how I feel about it.
That's
What
fair.
do you think, Brad? What do you think was weak?
So I actually think the opposite about the first movie. From that, I think actually I enjoyed the build-up of trying to reveal the purpose later on, rather than telling you from the start, this is what you're going to get. I think that was trying to stick with the overall theme of the book that inspired this, and trying to go in with building up audience investment with the story and the characters. I like that. I actually think the weakest part of the original movie was I think the weakest part of the movie was the way in which they built up the family dynamic. Like, every time you saw Mary Poppins and the kids, the scenes felt very consistent and they flowed. Every time you saw the kids try to understand their parents, the scenes flowed, but there started to be a little bit of a hiccup. And then the moment that you had any scenes where the kids were trying to directly connect with the parents, up until the end, there always felt like there was a little extra pressure there, like a little extra resistance to trying to have that part of the story flow. Like, it always felt like it slowed down maybe a little too much compared to the flow of the rest of the movie, where it was almost like they were trying to be either too on the nose with certain things, or they just didn't quite know what to do with the super serious aspects of those scenes compared to the more fantasy-oriented aspects of the rest of the movie. And I think that maybe could have been blended a little bit better, but even then, I don't really think it was that much of a big deal. I think it could have been done a little bit smoother. The new movie, I think the weak point of it was really trying to create more of a flow between the scenes. Whereas the first movie, start to finish, you could tell that every scene directly connected into the next one, and how and why it connected, and it just kind of it felt very progressive from start to end of the film, with just some slow speed ups and slow downs in pacing. The second one at times really felt like they were trying to hit certain notes, they were trying to hit certain themes that they definitely wanted to be able to have in the movie, and so they had to have a scene for this. So all of a sudden you just got this scene, but there wasn't a lot of build up to transition into it. Like, for example, the first animated crossover scene with the bubble bath. There was a little bit of a transition to that, but there was a lot of it that just kind of felt like, we need our first magical scene, so here you are. And
into the bubble bath we go.
Yeah, it just felt kind of like it was thrown in without a lot of build up to it. And then that, especially that final climax scene with the Learys building up to Big Ben and all that, like everything about that whole scene, from the start of the race to the bank to the end of the scene at the bank, all of it just felt like it was just thrown in there without a lot of build up to get you to that point. Because somebody felt like they needed like a race against the clock for the climax, and so here you go. And
okay, fair. It's a trope. I get that.
I feel like it could have been a little bit better developed rather than just thrown in there because they needed it. So yeah, I think that's really where the second one suffered the most, was some of this build up between the regular scenes and the bigger, like, key points. Like the key points of the movie versus the regular bits. Like that, the build up between the two could have been a little bit more consistent. Because there were some that felt very consistent. Like the build up to go from the vase is broken to the vase has been fixed to we're going to jump into the vase. It felt like there was more of a progression there. But yeah, that wasn't a consistent method for the entire movie.
I got you.
So yeah, no.
Give that to you.
Yeah, so that's where I think the weakness was for it. But otherwise, like I said, overall, I think Mary Poppins Returns was a fun movie. It's never going to be able to be fully comparable to the original, because the original was just so good and just feels so like deeply fulfilling on a primal level when you watch it. So there's really no way any level of success of the sequel could ever quite tap into that same place.
Even though I am mildly freaked out that everyone in the original Mary Poppins has blue eyes, but that's it.
Well, yeah, we'll ignore that for a minute. But no, it touches so deeply that the sequel was never going to be able to get that, but it's still a fun movie, and I don't have a problem with kids enjoying it today, because it was a very fun, very enjoyable movie. Just as long as the adults understand that the two movies can coexist and one can never and will never replace the other, then it's a fun movie. Enjoy it.
It is, and I really enjoyed it, and I really appreciated that they brought in callbacks. Yeah. To the original throughout Mary Poppins Returns. Like it I think those little callbacks, if you've seen the original, it helped you kind of like stay immersed in the sense of like, this is the world that has been created with Mary Poppins. But even if you didn't understand those callbacks, it didn't detract anything from the movie. So
fair.
10 out of 10 would recommend. Fantastically fun and practically perfect in every way.
Fair. And I will say that it was nice to see some of the cameos they got for Returns.
Yes.
Like getting to see Julie Walters and Angela Lansbury and Dick Van Dyke, and just
tugging on my heartstrings, man.
I mean, Jim Norton. And there, I swear there. Oh, just because you had to have some fun voices in there. Chris O'Dowd coming in as the Seamus the coachman, and Mark Addy as Clyde the horse.
Yes, which I thought was also a clever name, by the way.
Oh,
Clyde.
like just so much fun stuff that just happened.
It was.
That, I mean, I appreciated the cameos. I appreciated the acting, the actor throwbacks, and the connectivity to Disney history with those cameos. Because Angela Lansbury was not in the original, nor was David Warner, or Chris O'Dowd, or so many of the others, and yet they've all been in other Disney movies. And so there is connectivity to the rest of the Disney ethos that just, you look at it, and all of it just feels Disney.
I may have squealed whenever I looked away from it, and all of a sudden I heard the balloon lady talking. I was like, why is Mrs. Potts in this movie? And I looked back, I was like, because it is Mrs. Potts! Like, I was just like, why is she talking about, because it is Mrs. Potts. Oh my gosh, it's Mrs. Potts. Like, I got really giddy over that one. So.
Oh, yeah.
I also squealed. I got kind of teary-eyed when Dick Van Dyke came in, because I didn't know if he's actually gonna come back or not.
Yeah.
Because they were talking about how Mr. Dawes the entire time, like, he's gone, he's loony, he's not quite here with it every. I was like, oh, okay, I guess we're not gonna see Dick Van Dyke and Thomas Jones. Okay, it's fine, no big deal.
Yeah.
It's Dick Van Dyke. Like,
Well, and the funny thing is, when he popped up on screen, I completely forgot that he had the dual roles in the original.
Yep.
And so I just thought, oh, cool. So they brought in Dick Van Dyke to be able to play the banker as a little bit of a throwback to bring him in. And it wasn't until later they realized, wait, he was the banker originally. And so that, I see what you did there. Yeah.
While Bert was traveling the world, Mr. Dawes was still there. It's fine. Okay, it's cool.
And
it was nice.
There is a part of me, honestly, that that little fanficky side of me that really does still look back and go, man, I feel like after the first movie ended, sometime down the line between the first and second movies, Mary Poppins and Bert met up again later, and they went off on their own adventures.
Ran off together.
Because it felt. Their chemistry in the original movie was just so perfect. Yes, Dick Van Dyke's accent was ridiculous and absolutely not proper Cockney. I get it, and yet it was so much fun.
It was an attempt.
It was so much fun because it's Dick Van Dyke. Dick Van Dyke has just so much giddy, exciting energy that just radiates off him, even today, that it's hard not to see Dick Van Dyke in a fun comedic role and not just like melt with like you just, oh, it's Dick Van Dyke.
Yeah, no, I've often had a headcanon that at some point Mary and Bert got together and ran off and had a great life, and it was all fine and dandy.
I mean, if you believe
you saw how jealous she got whenever Bert started naming off names of women that he's been with.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
she was just kind of.
If you believe the headcanon that Mary Poppins is a Time Lord, they absolutely could have gone off on a full lifetime of adventures within the span of that 20 years, and everything could have worked out. They could have had a full life together, done their thing. Mary Poppins came back, not aged a day. Bert is already long gone after only 20 years, and now all of a sudden, Mary Poppins is back to do her little Time Lord, timey-wimey thing for another generation.
You cannot tell me that dang bag is not Gallifreyan technology, because it without question, that bag is bigger on the inside. Yeah. How else was she able to pull out a hat stand and a mirror, and would she also put like a lamp at one point, and like the medicine, and just oh yeah, she's a Time Lord.
I buy it.
Tell me I'm wrong.
Well, I mean, think about it like this. We've had evidence that TARDISes can change size. We've in Peter Capaldi's run, we had an entire episode where the TARDIS shrank down to toy size. So
Peter Capaldi.
You go size changing with shape shifting. All of a sudden, who's to say the bag isn't her TARDIS in with the Chameleon Circuit on doing overtime, and she's just reaching into different rooms to pull out her stuff. As soon as she flies off with her little umbrella and is out of sight, pops open the bag, goes to full size, goes off into the universe, does her thing, comes back when she's needed, and
Which also explains why the wind changes when she comes in, because TARDISes do weird things to atmospheres.
Yep.
Can't tell me I'm wrong.
And the only reason why you don't hear those sounds when she materializes is because, unlike the Doctor, she doesn't leave the handbrake on.
Yes, she doesn't leave the handbrake on, as well as the fact she probably, does it far enough away to not draw attention to herself.
Oh, yeah.
Because she often says that she doesn't want to be made into a spectacle. She understands that she has some certain powers, and that she might draw attention from people that don't need to see. And that's that. So.
Yeah, honestly, I think I would lose my mind if the writers over at the BBC finally just leaned into it and made a Mary Poppins reference in Doctor Who just to reinforce that fan theory and have a little fun with it, because it makes too much sense not to.
Even if it's just like a short version of the Doctor running into a woman who's wearing a blue trench coat and a red hat, and like, "Oh, Mary, nice to see you again," and she nods her head and disappears. That's all I would need.
Oh yeah.
Is just like the tiniest little hint, and I would be thrilled.
Yeah, no, I think that that would be fantastic. But with that, I think we have about exhausted all possible comparisons for this little review without doing a scene-by-scene analysis of both movies.
Okay, let's not do that, because they're both 2.5 hours long, and I could talk probably about 30 minutes on each scene. Yeah. So.
With that, guys, if you have made it this long since we have gone 22 minutes over what we were expecting, thank you so much for sticking this out. We appreciate it. And of course, guys, thanks for joining us. If this is your first time joining us, like we said back at the beginning of the stream, please don't forget, if you have not already, to like our video and follow us over on Facebook. Like the video and subscribe over on YouTube. Make our Google overlords happy. And of course, if you like our stuff but don't have time for our videos, you can always go check out the audio of our live streams and interviews over at Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Play, and Stitcher, because we're all the places doing all the things. So
it's true.
Yeah. With that, thank you all for joining us. Don't forget to share us with your friends. We'd love to hear their thoughts. And because we forgot to mention it at the top of the video, we're going to go ahead and say it now. Question of the day.
Ooh.
What did you think?
I thought you said it.
Do you think the original or sequel was better? Do you like them both? Do you like neither? By the way, if you say neither, you're wrong. But just tell us your thoughts down in the comments.
Let's not be offensive, okay?
Just tell us your thoughts down in the comments below. We'd love to be able to hear from you. And until next time, guys, I'm Brad. That's Kyla. We're Dallas Geek. And see ya.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye.